before we jump into this video, I wanted to let you guys know all of our Work For It jerky is back in stock. The blood, sweat, and tears, as well as the bacon jerky. Look at that. Look how good that looks. This stuff is amazing. Read the reviews on the website. Everybody loves it. Also, while you're there, check out some of our other blue collar swag. We've got Work For It decals, Work For It hats, and of course, a plethora of t-shirts and hoodies. WorkForItApparel.com. If you guys are proud blue collar workers or you know the value of working for the things that you have, go to WorkForItApparel.com. Let's roll this video. What's up and good morning, guys? Welcome back to another video. You can probably see I am standing inside of an enclosed trailer. And if you watched my previous video, you guys saw when we basically give like a brief showing of Sergio installing an entire lighting system in a trailer running off of a Milwaukee 18-volt battery. There's Sergio right there. Say hi, Sergio.
Hi.
A lot of people had a lot of questions, especially on TikTok. I posted a quick little video on TikTok. It got 3.2 million views in a matter of like 48 hours, which was very impressive. So we decided we're going to make a start to finish complete install on how to install. This will work for Milwaukee and DeWalt. We've got both adapters that we will show in this video. And you can use this for your trailer, your hunting cabin, your hunting blind, a basement. I saw a lot of places people thought of using this, a food truck, a lot of really cool ideas. This will work for pretty much anything that doesn't have its own electrical system, and even if it does, like a trailer would, it's just a really good idea. So this trailer right now does not have a battery system. The only lights you see like this right here are running off of when it's ever connected to the truck.
And you have to have the running lights on all the time with the running lights, and then this thing can turn.
Right. So we're building a complete standalone system, and you don't ever have to worry about draining your vehicle's battery and all of a sudden your vehicle's not going to start or whatever it may be. There are many different ways you can wire a trailer. Some of you were like, you should do solar panels and a battery system. You absolutely could. That's one way to do it. However, this is what I feel is the least invasive, quickest, easiest, and most affordable way to do it, and it's kind of cool.
Yeah, definitely. It's way cheaper though, too. So you spend the money on the solar panels, the battery, and then you choose the type of battery you want, how you're going to charge the battery. You need a charger too for the battery. It's a lot of money. In this case, you already have battery chargers for your batteries or tools, and they're lithium batteries, which is way better too. They last longer, they're smaller. So let's jump into it. We're gonna show you all the parts that it takes. Sergio, also, if you guys don't know, Sergio is an electrical engineer who's also started his own business doing installs as well as an online retail store. So to make it easy for all of you, every part that you're gonna see used in this video, you can purchase at iep-usa.com. We'll give you all the part numbers, as well as we're gonna compile them into an entire kit. So you can just go onto his website, purchase the kit, and you'll be good to go. Again, whether you wanna put it into a trailer, a cabin, a tent, whatever. Lots of uses for this. So let's go, Sergio. Let's go, start.
We are being as professional as we've ever been in a video here. Look at this beautiful spread we've got thanks to iep-usa.com. These are all the parts we're gonna be using today. These are pretty much all the parts we used in the last video. And you can kind of mix or match some of these, and we're gonna talk about why we're gonna use some in this install, why we're not, and why you should for, you know, your guys' installation. But let's just start on what lighting we're gonna use. These are the 45-degree service mount work lights. These are also the ones that I have in my dump trailer. I love these lights. These are gonna be getting mounted on the side there. Now you might see this guy's already running a couple of solar lights. That's just for like theft prevention. That light just kind of triggers on if anybody walks by, but these will be getting mounted right next to it. And one of these lights on each side of your trailer is usually enough. They are super, super bright. Inside, we're gonna be using 11.8-inch LED surface mount dome light.
This we have another version which is longer, but it depends what you want to choose. In this case, on the video that you saw of the install, you're gonna see here is we used 2 of these ones inside, and it was enough light. Also remember, if you go to bigger lights, more lumens and all that stuff is good, but also it drains your battery fast. And we will be doing a light test in this video. I believe we're charging up a 9.0 Milwaukee battery, and we'll see how we're looking on the draw on these. Now coming down our line here, these are probably the 2 most important parts that we're going to be using. We have the option for DeWalt as well as Milwaukee. And the Milwaukee one's actually going to look a little bit different. This is not the one we prefer, but it's the one we have for the video. If you can see here on the DeWalt, it has 2 holes in it that allows you to attach it. We're going to have to make our own on this one, but by the time this part number is available, there will be a better version. And again, every part number you see here is available on iep-usa.com. We're also going to make it very simple for you guys and just make one kit, but you have the option to buy and mix and match any of these parts as you would like. So obviously these are the magic, right? This is what takes your drill battery and allows you to add on from there. From our drill battery, we're going to be then going to... Well, you have 2 options.
Okay.
First is you need to have the voltage regulator if you want to run anything that is below 18 volts, because your battery is going to give you 18 volts. You don't want to,
or 20 if you're a DeWalt,
or 20 if you're DeWalt. If you're using lights are specifically 12 volts, you cannot use the system by itself. You need a actually regulate it.
right?
If not, it's going to burn your lights or can cause a mess there. So in this case, we're not going to use it because our lights can handle all the way from 10 volts to 30 volts. So in our case, we don't need that. We're not going to use it in this install, but we just gonna have it available for you if you want.
Right. So basically what this does is it steps down either 18 or 20 volts and makes it 12 volts.
Correct.
Which, if you're using sensitive electronics, you're gonna want something like this. That being said, this is basically sort of a heat sink. As you can see, it looks like a heat sink. So when you're using one of these, you are taking a little bit more power to basically reduce your voltage, so your battery's going to drain a little bit quicker.
Yeah, it's there's always a voltage power loss whenever you're trying to regulate the voltage. So even though your lights are off and all that, it might be still using a little bit of power when it's off. And instead of, let's say this runs at 0.5 amps, you might need 0.6 amps to run with the voltage regulator. So it adds a little bit to the load. It shouldn't be done much. So if you're not using your trailer and you don't need the lights at all and nothing, you can shut it off and you make sure everything is cut off from draining.
Right. Or just pull your battery out.
Or pull,
Yeah. So we're not using this today because the lights that we're using can handle the variation in voltage, and this customer doesn't plan on running any type of sensitive electronics like the water pump, a 12-volt water pump or something like that. So if you are going to be doing that though for your hunting cabin, or you're building like a little RV trailer or something like that, you're probably going to want to run something like that to bring your voltage down to 12 volts.
When we send the power to this or not, then we have to distribute all the power, so we use this one right here. This is really cool when you're doing the install, because then you don't have to worry about where do you put all the grounds, because yeah, you have all the distribution for the power, but where are your grounds going to? And this will make you life easier.
So instead of having to like drill a self-tapper into the frame and hope that that's a good ground,
or external, or another bus there that you need, you have to drill all of them there.
Right. So
this is the best option.
Good fuse blocks here. It's going to have all your fuses, depending on how many you're going to use, plus you got your ground distribution. Now coming over, well, let's come down, Sergio. So obviously these are very simple rocker switches. Everybody's seen these. These are the little housings for them. We've got a variation of rocker switches, and then we're going to be adding, just because I think it's cool, a little USB hookup into our setup as well. That way, you know, our customer can charge his phone or whatever while he's on the job site.
I like this small panels mounts, because you can add more. Let's say you want 6 switches, you have more middle ones, and you can have a cool professional look. Easier to install than making individual holes.
We're going to be mounting everything inside of this enclosure, and again, you can get this enclosure at iep-usa.com. There'll be a few different sizes available. This one is going to be perfect for the setup we're doing, but if you're going to start adding a bunch of stuff like the buck converter and all that, you might want to go a size up to have more room for it. But we're trying to keep this just as nice and compact as we can. So this enclosure is what everything's going to get put into. You don't have to put it in an enclosure if you don't want to. If you just want to put it onto the side of your trailer and have wires running, I mean, you can also do that. But the kit we're going to be offering is going to have the enclosure with it. Now, one of the things that freaks everybody out when they see this is, are you going to completely drain your battery to a point of where the battery doesn't come back? And with Milwaukee 18-volt batteries and DeWalt, the tool basically is what has the voltage regulator built in it, from what we've been told, and from our testing it seems like that is true. So the tool is what tells the battery, all right, you're done, start blinking, no more power coming out of you, you need to be charged. If you go below that and you go too far below that, you can risk damaging the battery, or basically killing the battery, and sometimes you can jump them back with another battery and get them back. To avoid that, we've got a low voltage disconnect. So what this is going to do is this is basically going to kill power to everything once the voltage gets to a certain level.
And you can configure this to whatever voltage you want. In this case, we drain one of the batteries all the way down on one of the Milwaukee's tools, so the low voltage disconnect knows that that's the voltage you have to cut it off.
Right.
So measuring that, we can program this to be the same voltage, and this will take care of that, going surpass that voltage.
So right here we're showing this. You can see this battery is flashing, which will no longer work in a tool. It is dead. However, it still has enough voltage to power a light if we really wanted it to, but that's not within the safe operating range. So at 16.24 volts seems to be the range that the batteries, based on what the tool tells it to do, are to stop working. So we're going to set this low voltage disconnect See that number right there, and that should save all your batteries from ever getting too low and getting into that dangerous range.
Yeah, and I know lithium batteries are way better at handling lower voltages, but I'm pretty sure Milwaukee did their test running, and that's how you get the most life out of your batteries. So.
And then again, that voltage is for a Milwaukee 18 volt. The DEWALT 20 volt will be different. We got to get one of those batteries and we'll test them and we'll get all that figured out.
The good thing about this thing is you can program what voltage you want it to cut off.
So these are all the parts we're going to be using, plus and minus a few, again, depending on your application. I've already got Sergio's dad over here getting the trailer that you can see marked out where all of the exterior lights are going to go, as well as the interior, and running the wiring. So wiring for these is super simple. It's just a 2-wire system, right?
2-wire system. The cool thing is that LEDs don't use too much power, and you can run smaller wires. I think 18 gauge should be enough for this. If you're going for more power or longer distances on a bigger trailer, then you have to consider using the 16 gauge wire. How do you start? First, you have to figure out where your lights are going to go. Take into consideration your convenience, how easy it is to access, and how good it is to hide the wires and all that. And then where is going to get the power from? All your enclosure box or your distribution box, whatever you want to call it. Decide where that's going to go, and all your wires has to be drawn there. So in our case, we're going to put the enclosure box here, because this customer say that he has more access through the back door than the side door. In your case, it might be the other way around, and you want the box closer to you because there's where the switches are going to be. So in this case, back here, we're going to put 2 interior lights, one right here and one right here. Taking this off, this doesn't work too much. And we're going to run 2 wires all the way here to the enclosure box, and also on the outside is going to be the angle light facing outside. And then on the back, also facing back. So run 2 more wires there to your enclosure box. It makes it easier, that way you run all inside the box and then you fix all the mess inside. That's my way to do it. It's easier, cleanest, but it might be you might be have other ways to do it and faster maybe. So again, depending on your application, whatever's gonna work best for you. These little enclosed trailers are super easy to run wiring. I mean, there's really not much to them. A little bit of steel channeling. Look at this. They couldn't even give you like full 1/2 inch. You've got like I don't know, 3/16 doubled up for the ceiling thing. Compare this type of wiring to the original one. So. Yeah. So this is how standard trailers. That is electrical tape. Wow, tape. That is electrical tape. Okay. So again, you can run your wires however you want, right? Just make sure they're safe. Nothing's pinching, binding, nothing's gonna get rubbed up on metal, and then you're gonna ground out and short things out. So over here at IEP, you know, Sergio and them, they're always running stuff in wire loom. But again, you can see, for a system like this, you only need 2 wires. You need a positive and a negative. That's what's gonna run to everything. The 2 interior lights are gonna be on one switch. That exterior light's gonna be on another switch, and then the rear exterior light is gonna be on a 3rd switch. We wanna be able to differentiate. The one thing when you're running a system like this is, if you can use your lighting more efficiently, your battery's gonna last longer, right? So why have one switch that's gonna turn on 4 perimeter lights when you're only working out the back? And this customer here, you can see from the machine right here, he does seamless rain gutters. So typically, he's working out that way. Not so much is going on that side of the trailer. So if he just wants to turn this light on and the interior lights on, his battery's gonna last a little bit longer than if he were to run, you know, all 4 lights at once. All right, so the exterior lights are getting mounted, the holes have been drilled, and they're siliconing the hole. That way no water can get inside. You can see this is where the light comes through. They'll be connecting the pigtail of the light to the wiring that we have pre-ran to run to over where our switch box is gonna be. Well, the trailer is getting its lights put on because that's a fairly simple process. Now we're gonna get into the brains of this entire operation. And for ease of filming and really ease of install, we've made just this little back piece right here, just out of some, I don't know what that is, ABS plastic or something. Just cut a sheet of it. That's gonna allow us to build this outside of the box and then set it inside here and screw it in, versus trying to get your hands inside of here to do all the wiring. If you wanna skip the explanation, there's gonna be a time lapse on this that we'll cut to after we do all the long talking. First things first, Sergio is getting the low voltage disconnect mounted to our back plate. And really this setup's pretty simple. Again, really what's gonna change between yours and ours would be if you do decide to run the buck converter over there. Next, he's going to be putting up the fuse block. Nice and clean. Depending on the size of enclosure, you can opt to put all of this inside of the enclosure if you want, but for ease of changing out batteries, obviously switches too, I guess.
We're gonna opt to mount everything on the outside. So your battery connector will be right here, and then we're gonna run the 3 switches right next to it. Depending on, again, how you wanna do this, we're actually gonna have this to where the battery clips in upside down. Don't worry though, we have tested it. She is rock solid as can be clicked in, plus it allows access to this switch on top versus being on the bottom. Now the reason we're doing that is because of the way that this door opens. If we have these wires at the bottom, they're gonna be all hanging here in the way. You're not really gonna be able to open the door all the way, or if we put them on the hinge side, we can run them all the way back around. So just now marking out where the switch holders are gonna go. And then kind of like he mentioned earlier, instead of cutting a bunch of little holes individually for the rocker switches, using these little holders slash housings allows you just to cut one nice big hole, and then you can plop all that in.
Yeah, and you can have 2, 4, 1, however you want, it will look clean.
And again, just to make this adapter work, the other ones that we will be offering on the site will have those holes already, mounting holes in them. But because these don't, we're just gonna make them work here real quick. We're gonna put our own mounting holes in them. Now, I don't know if I mentioned it earlier, but Sergio will be selling this as a complete, already assembled kit. So all you need to do is hook up the lights on your trailer and run your wires to the box. If that interests you guys, make it super simple. That'll be offered, as well as you can buy the individual parts and all that through his website as well. But if you want this entire kit already assembled, shown up to your door, it will be an option. Now that we have our mounting holes, Sergio is going to drill through so we can bolt it up. We're going to be using some little M5 bolts as well as lock nuts so that thing never comes off. The battery adapter is on, as well as the switch panel.
There, we're done. Now we're done.
For the cleanest look possible, we're gonna route the wires directly in from there, which means we're gonna have to cut off that fuse connector and then reconnect it once we are inside. But it's just gonna look a lot cleaner than routing or keeping that fuse connector on the battery adapter outside. Nice and clean. Now to reconnect a fuse connector or a fuse holder, I'm gonna use a butt connector and crimp it down. And then he is heat shrinking on the butt connector.
I know you don't have to use heat shrink every time when it's indoors, but this makes it more secure. It's also harder to pull out if you didn't crimp it properly. It will help you prevent a little bit more of that.
And plus, being in a trailer, they're bouncing down the road.
Yeah.
So the more you can prevent things from separating, the better.
Okay, this 2 will go straight to the low voltage disconnect on this side.
That's your input.
That's your input, and this is going to be your output. So this is going to be where all the power comes to your system. So I'm trying to get the ground to the ground bus and the power to the fuse block, and now we have access to all the power that you need.
Now he's putting on his ring terminals. Now that our back plate is pretty much assembled with our low voltage disconnect and our fuse block, Sergio is now measuring out wire to run from the fuse block to the individual switches.
Each switch will have a individual fuse. That's the best way to do it. You can also use one main fuse for everything, but you run the risk that the fuse might not blow because there's too small of a draw.
And Sergio likes to keep everything color coordinated, so each switch will have its own colored wire, just in case you ever have to troubleshoot something later down the road. Not that in a box this small that would matter, but it's little details like this. I always tell you guys in construction, like, practice the little details on something that doesn't really matter. That way when you go to the big jobs, it's already ingrained in your head on, like, you know, this is how we should do. But for most guys sitting around the garage, you might have 1 or 2 colored wires. Use what you got. And Sergio's now using 18 gauge wire from the fuse block to the switches.
Always your wires for the main power has to be bigger or the same size as whatever you're using outside.
Just so happen to not have any of these spade connectors in the heat shrink version, so we're gonna crimp them on and then we're gonna use some heat shrink over them. Again, mainly just to keep things from vibrating apart, pulling apart, or anything like that. Sergio obviously is very good at crimping, but it's just a little added security. All of the positives now are getting hooked up. And again, these are gonna run to the switches.
So it's not a long install, it's just time consuming. That's why we're trying to teach you guys how to do it so you can do it yourself. We almost forgot about the hole for our USB plug.
Again, not super necessary, but I think it's going to be cool to have as a way to charge your phones. Especially if you guys are building like an off-grid cabin or something that you want to have this in. This would be a nice little addition.
What's this?
Oh, you were testing me? You didn't forget? All right. We both forgot. So this will drop straight in like so. And again, you'll have a nice area to charge your phone, laptop, whatever it may be, off of the Milwaukee battery. Now for your negative, instead of running 3 negative wires all the way up to the switches, Sergio's gonna make 1 wire coming off of the negative terminals on the fuse block to a negative here. So to make his jumper, in this terminal, he ran 2 wires. So you can see he's got both of them running there, crimped in, and he's gonna heat shrink them in. And then he'll do the same for the next one, and then the last one will just have 1 on it. So that's how he's gonna make his negative side jumpers from the switches.
Yeah, and this lights on the switches, they don't use much power, it's almost milliamps of power. So you can use a thinner wire if you want to, but 18 gauge should be strong enough.
The switches are all wired up. Now Sergio's going ahead and connecting the input side to our low voltage disconnect, which is this side right there. So again, power is going to come in from the battery into the low voltage disconnect. We're going to set it to not allow any draw after the voltage that we select, which is going to be based off of our testing with the Milwaukee battery. And then from there, that is going to go to the fuse buckets and distribute power. So once that voltage drops, it'll no longer allow it to distribute power, which will then save any batteries from damage. Gone ahead and clipped in a Milwaukee battery. So you're just going to put the fuse in to make the low voltage disconnect live. And then all we got to do is program the low voltage disconnect.
Again, this will use some power all the time, obviously, if it's on. But it will shut off by itself, but it is going to drain your battery. So if you're definitely not going to be in your trailer using it, I'll recommend just switch it off, and that way you don't discharge your battery with not using it. Or like you said, take the battery off and good to go. 16.3 is what we're going to set this at. Sergio is now setting the low voltage disconnect to 16.3.
There you go, 16.3. Perfect.
Now the other option is you have to select what difference of voltage you want to kicking again. There's a shut off voltage and a turn on voltage.
So typically if you're like putting a low voltage disconnect in your vehicle, you want to leave enough voltage to be able to start the vehicle, but then you want to quickly bring it back up so you can turn like your lights on and stuff. So we don't want to go like, we want to go just a hair higher than the shut off voltage.
So what, 0.1, 0.2? 0.2 volts. What, 16.3 at 16.5 is like turning on, back on. So that's the actual voltage.
Also, yeah, for those of you wondering, Milwaukee 18 volt comes in at 20.3 volts for a fully charged battery.
Yeah, people don't know. Even Ryan was like, what? Yeah, the actual voltage of the battery that you see display on the labels and all that, it's not the actual voltage. It's the mid voltage, but when it's fully charged, it's a little bit above that, and it's discharged a little bit below that. Most of the voltage meters that you see will take that on consideration. So if it's a 12 volt battery, it will tell you like it's low in charge when it's at 11 volts and high when it's full when it's at 14 volts. It's not actually perfectly showing what the actual life of the battery is or the charge of the battery is, but it's a close enough number. This thing is pretty much ready to now go in. Obviously we have to attach our housing, so we can't put in our 12 volt plug yet because this piece has to come out, so we can screw our housing into the trailer, and then we can put that piece in, and then we can put our USB plug on the side. Box is getting installed in the trailer now. All of the lighting again has been installed by Sergio's dad. All nice and run and some loom. And then
all kind of basically teed off wherever we need to split it, and everything was basically daisy chain, right? Well, the two interior lights were daisy chained together, and then we have the exteriors on their own separate switch. Our back plate is now getting screwed in for the final time, hopefully. Sergio's now running the trailer side of the wiring into our box. Went ahead and just drilled a hole on the top to get them in. Obviously, these enclosures have holes on the side there, but for this application, it looks better coming in from the top, and there's more room inside.
So yeah, if you go with more detail, this actually goes like this, but well, we could put it like this, but it didn't work better for us like this.
Yeah. Now this is basically the same thing you saw for hooking up the negative sides to the switch. This is just going to the other blade that is on there, which is going to be power out, right? So we have main power coming in, main ground coming in, and then we'll have the power out, which is once the switch is flipped, that is going to send power to each of the individual lights. Now, if you want to take the easy way out and just opt to purchase a fully built box like this from Sergio, this is basically the point you would have to carry on, if that makes sense, right? So this would show up like so to your door, and then you're just going to feed your trailer lights into the box and hook them up. Now, the negatives off of all of the lights that will run on the trailer are going to go to the negative bus bar there on the fuse block. So we'll run all the negatives to there, and then all you're going to be running to the switches are basically the positive wires.
Okay, that's why it comes handy to have this. You might use a fuse plug without ground bus, but then you have to connect all the wires together, and then you have to use a huge connector for all of them, and it's way easier this way and cleaner. And last one.
Getting the connectors put on to the positive side, as well as heat trunk on.
Got that right, okay.
We'll get our battery hooked up. We are live. Look at that. Okay. We're working, we're live, Sergio.
We're live.
So we just gotta put the fuses in the fuse box there.
There you go, 5.
Look at that. We got us interior lights, guys. Interior
lights.
That one's gonna be the side light over there, and then we've got the rear light, which you can see right there. Nice and bright. All tied in. Look how clean and simple this box looks. Absolutely love it. It looks like a terrorist device on the inside.
We'll show you when it's clean. We'll still need to zip tie some stuff and put the cover here, but we'll see.
That is the gist of it right there, though. Now, to hook up the USB connector, it's just going to be coming straight off of our fuse block there from the positive and the negative to either side of there. You can put that on the switch if you want, but there's really no need to.
Again, you have the main fuse, switch to turn everything off. Negative. Positive. Done.
Here she is, all wrapped up, guys. So we've got our fuse block, all of our wiring coming in, all the switches. We've got the USB charger on the side. Oh, it's kind of hard to do one-handed. And then close her up, Sergio. All nice in a nice complete finished package with all of the switches. And everybody's gonna ask, how long is this gonna last? Now, Sergio's done some calculations. Sergio, what are your predictions?
Depending, do you have all the lights that we have right now? So if it is that the case, we have like a max of 4 amps in total what we're using. If it's a 8 amp battery, that means 2 hours. But if you're using only the interior lights, that's close to an amp. That should be like 8 hours of life.
Yeah. So the easiest way to calculate out is to look at your amperage draw. And again, LEDs have such a low amperage draw that you can, but it adds up, right? So we're just kind of being, what's the word? We're being generous in giving about an amp per. They are under an amp per depending on the light.
These are like less than half an amp maybe.
Yeah, so at being generous, we'll go 4 amps. And then if you look at your battery, right, an 8.0 Milwaukee battery is an 8 amp hour. So 8 amps will run for 1 hour. Obviously there's some variables, but that's like the general rule of thumb. So I want to test this. If I have enough time today, I'm going to hook up a fresh 9.0 battery just because I happen to have one lying around. I'm going to leave all the lights on, and we're going to see how long it lasts.
If you have the question where, hey, what if I add more batteries? That definitely that would add more hours to your total amps per hour. So you can do that. Definitely, it's easy. Just add another one, plug it in, put it there, and that's it.
I think what we're gonna do for this video though, I'm gonna make this now. If this video gets to 500,000 views, I'm gonna give away one of these complete setups for whatever your batteries is. If it's a Milwaukee or DeWalt, currently that's the only options we're gonna have. But if you guys have a Milwaukee or DeWalt battery, do what you can to get this video. Comment, share it with your friends. If this video gets 500,000 views, I'll give one of these away. But again, you can always go to iep-usa.com. There'll be a link down in the description and purchase one if you want. We're gonna take this fresh 9.0 off the charger. You can see, freshly charged up. All 4 bars. We're gonna set it with a little time lapse going on the trailer. We're gonna turn all the lights on, which again, most of the time you're probably not gonna be running all of your lights. And let's just see how long this lasts. We'll have a little phone right there with a stopwatch going, and we'll come check on it in a couple hours. So it looks like 200 minutes or 3 1/3 hours off of that one 9 amp hour. Remember, that's running all of the lights in here, whereas typically most people aren't just gonna run what you need. I actually didn't get a video of all the lights on from the outside, so let me go grab a freshy battery. And yes, if you really wanted to like take this to the next level, you could put a solar panel on the roof that charges a Milwaukee battery charger that charges your batteries while you're at work. And granted, most of the time if you're gonna be running lights in the trailer like this, it's gonna be because you're working at night. So at that point, the solar panel's not really doing a whole bunch. I went ahead and adjusted the low voltage disconnect because basically what we had it right now is it was gonna cut off at 16.3 volts, but then come back on at 16.5 volts. Well, that was too close because basically the battery would shut off. It would like energize itself a little bit. I don't know what the exact terminology is, and Sergio already left for the day. So, and then it would get like those 0.2 volts would be enough for it to kind of kick back on and then kill itself again. So I put a bigger spread there. I put a 0.5 voltage spread. So we should eliminate that issue, and everything looks good. Everything is good to go. Super, super solid setup. Now I've waited until it got dark to show you guys how these lights look at night. As you can see, I mean, look how much space is lit up on the ground here on the sides, or on the back, obviously, the side as well. I love these lights. These things are so awesome. Also, I checked the Milwaukee battery. Now, when you run these things super low and the tool tells it to cut off, the light flashes, right? So you would have 1 bar there flashing. However, the fact that it is still on 1 bar and it's not flashing tells me we are very much in the safe zone, not pushing it past. When these batteries are like throwing a code or something, you'll see alternating, right? These two will flash, these two will flash. And usually when that happens, you kill the battery, and you can re-jump like a good battery to another battery, but most people don't end up doing that. So by having the voltage set to 16.3, keeps your battery nice and safe, and it's gonna live to see another day. So I've got a smaller one on here right now. We've got the customer coming to pick this up, but man, do I love this setup. So freaking awesome. Would be ideal for your trailer, your truck camper, your cabin, you know, if you got an outhouse at your cabin, anywhere you don't want to run power, this is just a very simple way to do it and a very affordable way to do it. So with that, we're going to wrap up. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're not subscribed already, please click the subscribe button now that you don't miss out on any future content. Don't forget to give this video a like, a thumbs up. Don't forget to check out workforapparel.com, because if there's anything you want in this life, you got to be willing to work for it. You guys are the best. I'm out.
Damn. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.